So welcome everyone to the third general meeting. Thank you so much for coming. Just a few quick reminders about dues. The dues are, oh yeah, go ahead, Armand.
Yeah, so dues are actually due today. So it's due tonight at 11:59 p.m. That's like the soft deadline. That's when we encourage you to pay dues by, because after then and until the fourth general meeting, which is 2 weeks from now, there will be a $5 late fee. So we don't want you guys to have to pay that. So just if you want to join, make sure you get both local and national dues paid by tonight. And I am inputting them, and I'll have them inputted tonight. And so those should be finalized by tonight. If you have any questions about like your name is not on the point sheet, or you're concerned if like we have you in our database or not, just go ahead and email me and I can help you out with that.
Communication. So again, please join our Discord server. You can get the link on the website or in the slides that will be posted after this meeting. It's also on the how to join page. When you join, change your nickname to your first and last names. But if you have any issues with that, please don't be afraid to reach out to me or any of the officers. Also, just give us some time to approve y'all to the Discord, because we do have to do it manually and cross-check it with the database, but still please reach out if you want like any confirmation, dues were paid, or if you think something is up, and we'll be happy to fix it.
Perfect. So now we're just going to take the time to really emphasize these leadership and scholarship applications that are available to you guys. So we didn't really get to do this last week or last GM as much, but one thing that we really want to highlight is the MCAT prep course applications or prep course scholarship through Kaplan that we have available for you guys. So every semester, we're able to offer 2 need-based and 2 merit-based Kaplan scholarships, which are $2,000 and $2,500 in value. So this is really vital for, or not really vital, but very beneficial for some of you who are studying for the MCAT. Where if you need this kind of structured course, they have a variety of options, such as online, in person, one-on-one, or in a group setting as well. So there's definitely lots of flexibility for these Kaplan scholarships, and it definitely helped me out. I took one of their courses in the fall, took my MCAT, and was very satisfied with my score. They do have lots of accommodations and kind of score guarantees. So if you are planning on taking the MCAT anytime soon, I would say definitely if you're a sophomore, but even if you're a freshman and think you might be taking it earlier in the summer, that's an option as well. So please apply. We tend to not get as many applications for some reason, but this is free money, and you guys should definitely look at the application requirements and see if this is something that is interesting to you. Also, we have officer board applications. So as much as we like to, we will not be officers every year, and we will always love to recognize new officers and new ideas. So if you've enjoyed the past year's events and all the things that we've been able to put on for you guys, and maybe have your own ideas, we encourage everyone to apply and kind of contribute back to this community that we've built. So be sure to read the responsibilities doc to see kind of what each officer position is able to offer, and also what skills and kind of qualities we might be looking for. But the application is open now. It's available until April 7th. And know that all of the information is on the application in terms of like point breakdowns, interviews, the election meeting, which will require speech. But if you have any questions, definitely feel free to talk to the officer, maybe of the position you're interested in, or for any of us, since many of us have been in multiple roles. So definitely encourage everyone to get involved. This is something that's been really near and dear to my heart the past 4 years. So if you're interested at all, please look into it.
Okay, so AMSA stuff. The application is closed. All the people that have applied and stuff have been put into their group. So hopefully you guys got those emails today. Super, super excited about that. Just some other updates on that. There's a mentor training going on tomorrow from 6 to 7. You don't have to be a mentor to attend. Mentees can attend as well, and you'll get 1 FAMSA point for that. And then after that, on Saturday, we have the reveal event. So I know you guys already know who your groups are, but this is a really good way to just, get that first meeting out of the way, get acquainted with your groups, and just have a fun time. So that will mark, the AMSA reveal event on Saturday will mark the first day that you can use, that you can start, getting points and stuff for your meetings, I should say. So a link at the bottom is just a document that has all like the possible FAMSA stuff you could ever have on it. So that's that. And then join the Discord channel if you haven't already done that, and let me know if you have any questions.
The website. So our website is utamsa.org. It's a really fun place. Lots to explore on that website. Make sure to keep signing up for events on the calendar tab. Also keep sending me pictures. Y'all have actually been doing a really awesome job sending me pictures from events. Lots of fun things happening. You get 2 bonus points if you send me 4 photos. You can send those to me on Discord or an email. And then for member resources, I wanted to highlight the forum. So the forum is basically, for those of you who don't know, is kind of like a Rate My Professor, except it's from our perspective as like pre-med. So people in AMSA write reviews on different professors they've had, whether it's like pre-med courses or just like courses that they really liked or didn't like. So make sure to check that out. It's and it could be really useful, and consider also writing your own forum post over a professor you like or didn't like, because you can get points for that as well. And you get 2 bonus points if you do 4 forum submissions. So yeah.
All right, guys, this week I've given Kevin the fun slide, so I'll be going over the safety rules. While most of our events are online, we do have some in-person events because we believe having in-person events is very valuable, allows you to make more connections. So what we've done is made a safety policies document. So if you are planning to go to any in-person events, please read through the safety policies doc to make sure their interactions are as safe as possible. And to continue on with safety, I definitely recommend going out to get proactive community testing. They're doing it every week. It's opened back up this week after the blizzard we had last week. You're able to go in every week and get a test. It takes about 10-15 minutes. So definitely do it if you want to stay safe and make sure you're maintaining, or not, don't make sure you don't have COVID.
All right, thank you, Sakif. We've got a couple of fun socials lined up for you until the next GM, some of which are Zumba, which is led by Daniel's sister. She'll be leading us through some Zumba exercises. Share your vibes. This is a new event that we're doing and we're trying out. Basically, if you come to that event, we'll ask you to share a couple of songs that you really vibe with, and we'll try and guess who the songs came from and write a little bit about how the songs made you feel. So that should be very cool and chill. We got our second committee meeting on the 5th of March, and then we have a Ultimate Frisbee scrimmage game. That is an event led by our OA Krishna. And so if you are at all interested in playing Ultimate Frisbee, please do come out to that. I think it would be a lot of fun. It should be at Zilker. Yeah, and then so one thing about this, we did move the date around, and I believe Krishna did reach out to everybody who was already signed up, but the new date is on the 7th, and it should be a Sunday rather than a Thursday. And then finally, we have our second Turtle Bond study sesh on Monday, March the 8th.
Hi friends, I will keep this brief, but we just have a couple of events for medical resources coming up, which include the medical school application workshop. This is tomorrow, and the sign-up sheet will be closing tonight. So please come out to the super informative event led by myself and Daniel and Aditi, especially if you are planning on applying to med school this upcoming cycle. We have a virtual clinical workshop led by Longhorn EMS next week. And just a reminder that the HBO Health Professions Fair was rescheduled for next week as well, due to the winter storm, but just other programs and resources available. They're the same as always. I did want to just emphasize that one-on-ones with myself are still available if you'd like to just rant about anything, talk about MCAT, med school stuff, whatever. I really enjoyed doing that last semester. So feel free to send me a DM or anything if you just want to chat.
All right. Well, I hope everybody had stayed safe and stayed warm during our 2 weeks of winter wonderland. But volunteering is back and we're ready to rumble. And so for some of our upcoming events that are in person, we have TTFV, and this will be our third one, would have been our third one, but it's going to be our first one because of the blizzard, coming up on 2/26, and then Creative First Aid Kits, which is going to be run by our wonderful Vice President at DT on the 28th. And then the Project Linus blanket making is coming up on March 3rd. And then lastly, we're also doing a take-home toiletry backpacking with Joyce, one of our OAs.
Yeah, so we also have some cool virtual events lined up for you guys. So this one's brand new, AISD high schools. So basically we just get together with high school students, talk to them, play some games, super chill, sort of like a social, but you're helping these kids sort of have a reprieve from the stress of COVID and just general life, especially after the winter storm. It's going to be a really fun time. And then we have the third Dell Children's recording session on March 4th. So look forward to those events.
Yeah, so the makeup meetings are every other Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. The next one is going to be next week to cover this meeting. If you are in need of another meeting point, the merch store is still up and running. So if you're interested in buying some old merch, check that out. And there are much lower prices than dues or anything like that. And if you haven't already picked up your GM shirt, merch pickups are on the website for, I think all of them are open, so you can sign up for any of those dates. And I wanted to bring up, if you're a graduating senior and you're not on campus and don't plan to be, or if you graduated last fall or this spring, if you know anybody, I'll be sending out this form because we're probably going to find a way to ship to seniors that aren't going to be able to actually physically pick up their shirt. And then last but not least, follow us on all those social media platforms and you can earn an Easy Point. Easy Point. If there's an Easy Point doc for an extra 2 bonus points if you're interested.
All right, fundraising. So we have quite an eventful first 2 weeks of March. So the first thing is we have a Scribbulo gaming tournament coming up on Saturday, on March 6th. So please bring out your friends. Please sign up. The sign up form is currently open. It will be $5 to participate. We also have a charity miles campaign on Monday, starting out. It's going to be a 1-week campaign. It's whenever you're able to run and donate about like 25 cents per mile you run. It's completely free and you guys can decide which foundation you guys would like to donate to. And due to the winter storm stuff that happened last week, we'll have our PCC bucketing moved to Sunday on March 7th. And we'll have our first committee meeting on the day after. So you guys could just come out, hang out, get a free fundraising point, and also give me any sort of feedback or suggestions you would like to do for this semester.
All right, with that being said, we just want to list these last few reminders. All of these things are coming up and super important, but obviously we encourage you to check out these meeting slides after tonight's meeting and go ahead and click on all those links. But without further ado, we're going to proceed on to the guest speaker. So, Carissa.
Yeah, so I'm super excited to welcome our second guest speaker for the semester, and that is Dr. Vallejo from Baylor College of Medicine. He's going to be speaking to us about their programs today, and so everyone please give him a warm welcome.
Hi everybody, how's everybody doing? Good? Everybody survived the couple of weeks of frigid weather? You guys get more cold weather than we do in Houston. We were dying. I mean, this time of the year it's always 75 to 80 here, but we survived. Well, listen, thank you very much for the invitation. I always enjoyed my little drive up to Austin every, fall and spring semester. Unfortunately, this year it wasn't possible, but we're hoping that maybe next year most of us will be immunized and we will be able to gather again at UT and have this session, face to face. So what I want to do is I want to spend about 30 minutes giving you an overview of the Baylor program. Just a couple of things that will change this year. I'll emphasize that. And then I'll stop. And then I saw that there's like 122 22 of you guys on the Zoom call. I'll try and answer as many questions as we can. And since your guys are most likely home and I'm home, we can go as long as you guys want, because nobody has to drive anywhere. Unless somebody has to eat dinner, then we'll go ahead and stop. So let me just pull up my slides here and share my screen with you guys. All right, so what I'm going to try and do over the next 30 minutes or so is sort of give you a little bit of an overview of what it is to be a student at Baylor and what the admissions committee at Baylor is looking for, in prospective applicants. As you guys know, these numbers are probably outdated now because you guys have been watching the news and you guys have heard about the Fauci effect and everybody knowing how there's been a dramatic increase in the number of medical school applicants this year throughout the country. In fact, we had a 23% increase in the number of applicants this year compared to last year. So, but if you just look at the numbers from last year, there were a little bit over 900,000 applications that were submitted by about 53,000 applicants. So that right off the bat tells you that you guys are applying to 15, 16, 17, 18 programs at one time. Out of those 53,000 applicants, a little bit less than half, or 22,000 matriculated somewhere in the United States. So medicine obviously continues to be a popular career. People are interested in going to medical school. There is a great need for physician. I think that this pandemic has certainly brought that up. It made it much more obvious. We all knew that there was a shortage of physicians in Texas, especially in rural areas, but I think it's become much more clear that we are in desperate need of physicians, primarily primary care. But again, there is a need, and there's still plenty of room for you guys to come and join us, whether it be at Baylor or somewhere else. Baylor is located in the Texas Medical Center. I would imagine that most of you have visited the Texas Medical Center. It's probably the world's largest, health science center. And Baylor was the first medical school that was established in the Texas Medical Center in 1942. In fact, it moved from Dallas to Houston at the invitation of the MD Anderson Foundation. We believe that this location in the TMC and the culture of collaboration and innovation that exists among all the institutions at the TMC is what allows us to prepare our trainees, meaning you guys in the future and current medical students and residents, to shape the future of science and healthcare. And we're really take that very seriously, and we're really proud of our students that we graduate every 4 years. Just a little bit about the TMC. There's over 9,000 patient beds. It's the 8th largest business district in the United States. 10 million visits per year, almost 200,000 surgeries every year. And every year there's so much construction going on. Right now they're developing TMC3, which is going to be a very innovatively designed research area that is going to be sort of jointly owned by UT McGovern, by Baylor, by MD Anderson, by Rice, by Texas A&M, by University of Houston. So again, a lot of construction in progress in the TMC. Over almost 110,000 employees come to work every day. Well, they used to prior to COVID, but it's like a little city within the city of Houston. I live very close to work, and I can tell you that there can be months before I go outside the loop. Because there's no need to. I have everything I need right there by where I live. Very, very convenient. We do have a lot of partners. We have a joint venture with our primary adult teaching hospital, St. Luke's Health. We have affiliations with Memorial Hermann Tier, Texas Children's, MD Anderson, the VA. Harris County is our sort of safety net, health system for indigent and uninsured people. The Menninger Clinic is our psychiatric facility, and then of course we have and affiliation with the Children's Hospital of San Antonio. Other major academic partners include Baylor University, Rice, University of Houston. We have BSMD programs with those. And then dual degree programs with also with Rice, with U of H and UT Health, and I'll talk a little bit about those in a minute here. Just a little bit about Baylor. We're the #1 least expensive private school. I don't say cheap because we're not cheap. We're just least expensive in the country. And the reason we're able to do that is because we do get funding from the state of Texas to educate Texans. We're ranked 21 in the nation for funding from NIH and first in Texas for NIH funding. And I just talked to you about the 8 affiliated hospitals. U.S. News and World Report ranked us last year first in Texas for primary care and research. And nationally, we're 4 for primary care, 6 for pediatrics, 13th for OBGYN, and 24th for internal medicine. I'm going to talk a little bit about the curriculum and some of the success indicators, just to give you an idea of what we have to offer you. So here are some of the highlights. So we have a 1.5 integrated foundational science preclinical curriculum. We used to say that we were the only school in Texas with a shortened curriculum. We can no longer say that because there's a lot of other schools that now have either 12-month or 18-month curriculum. But what I can tell you is that we do have the most experience with a shortened curriculum. I came to Baylor in 1985 as a medical student, and by that time, the 18-month curriculum had already been in existence for about 10 years. So we have at least 40 years of experience using this sort of, shortened integrated curriculum. We get all the core curriculums done in 1 year. This allows for you guys to use that extra time to do electives, to, whether it be electives at Baylor or electives at other institutions. We have a very flexible clinical elective schedule, and we have diverse clinical learning sites. We have a private hospital, we have a children's hospital, we have the VA, and obviously we have, like I told you, our Harris Health that primarily serves indigent and uninsured patients. We do listen to our students. We ask for them. We want input. We want them to tell us what they think needs to be fixed or what needs to be improved, and we don't just, take the information and put it in the corner. We act on it. This is what the 18-month, sort of the 4-year curriculum looks like. But up here at the top, these are your 18 months right here. This right here you're going to be doing this between the time you start in August till the end of December of your 1st year. So you take a lot of the, foundations basic to the science of medicine, like anatomy, histology, biochemistry, molecular cell biology. But at the same time, at the very beginning, week 1, you start seeing patients in Patient, Physician, and Society 1. This is where you're going to learn how to do physicals and histories on patients. And then, of course, in the afternoon, you have something called critical thinking and problem solving, where you take concepts that you learn in the morning. Maybe you talked about the upper extremity and anatomy in the morning. Well, in the afternoon, you're going to discuss a case with a faculty member and 2 or 3 other students that has to do with an injury to the upper extremity, maybe the vascular anatomy and how he was injured, or maybe a neurological issue. But we're trying to get you to start thinking in terms of how does the stuff that you learn in the morning in the classroom, how does it apply to the human body? Then you do the same, very similar thing after you come back from your Christmas break, and this takes you to the summer. Again, your sort of doctoring class continues. Now you're doing a little bit more, ethics, behavioral science, infectious diseases, and then you start doing this translational research in population health that you have to learn. And then, you have only 1 month in the summer. That's how we pack it all in together. While all your other friends that may be at a school that does things in 24 months will have 2 months in the summer, you will have only about 3 to 4 weeks in the summer, and then you're back here as an MS2. Again, this is the end of Christmas. You continue with your, Patient, Physician, and Society, and also there is a transition to clinics, to clinics right here, and you're doing things that are more relevant to medicine. And then this is your Christmas break, and when you come, you start basically your clinical rotations. You also start doing determinants, disparities of social and population health, and you'll get all your clinical rotations right here in 1 year. Everybody has to do a sub-I, and of course everybody has to do internal medicine. Now, what did we do when COVID hit in March of 2020? Well, we went to a hybrid model. All the lectures went virtual. Gross anatomy, we still had people coming into the lab. It was in person. There were 2 students to a cadaver, and the hours were spaced out so that there were very few people in a room at any given time. Now, we really felt that this was really critical, that it was really important for the students to continue to come onto campus. Then obviously the other challenge was the doctoring course. It still remained in person. Although you had the lecture by the faculty was virtual, we grouped students, to practice physical exams and techniques on each other with an instructor watching virtually. And then every other week, students would go to clinic, and interact with patients and practice interviewing and doing physical exam. And we provided all the PPE that the students needed for these encounters to be conducted safely. But we really felt that it was critical for this to continue, even though in the midst of the pandemic. This is what the anatomy lab looked like. This is a little bit later in the pandemic when we could have a little bit more people in. This is from a couple of months ago. So you can see there's only a few tables. In a regular year, every anatomy tank would have 4 students and 1 or 2 faculty walking around. Now you're seeing here that they're quietly way spaced out. Everybody's wearing face shields and masks and gloves. But we feel that it's critical for the students to continue to come to class and be engaged. I think, during your first year of medical school, you make some really important friendships that carry you on, not only for the rest of the 4 years at Baylor, but some into residency, and some, I still have friends from medical school that I still, stay in contact with. So what are the clinical rotations? How long are they? So internal medicine is 8 weeks. We shortened this curriculum somewhat last year. So internal medicine is 8 weeks, surgery 6 weeks, OBGYN and pediatrics are also 6 weeks, and then psychiatry, family medicine, neurology are 4 weeks. Now, you're probably wondering, look, I can see how there's overlap within the 6 and the 8 weeks, but what about the 4 weeks? What are we going to do with those other 2 weeks so that we're in sync with everybody else? So what the curriculum committee decided to do is to put in these intersessions. So you'll have 3 intersessions that coincide with those 3 core rotations that are only 4 weeks: psychiatry, family medicine, neurology, right? And so each one of those is going to last 2 weeks. So this is to give the students the opportunity to focus on wellness, to prevent burnout. You can do whatever you want in those 2 weeks. And some of the examples that we like to give is you can do a service learning and wellness activity. You can do a 2-week clinical elective. Maybe you're interested in cardiology, but you're not really sure that that's what you want to do. So you might want to do a 2-week elective in the cardiology clinic where you go see patients with a cardiologist, or you can do a 2-week research elective. It's whatever you want to do with those 2 weeks. That's the fun part. Electives, we've got plenty of electives. 300 plus electives are offered during training. You can take electives in your foundational sciences, your clinical sciences, or you can do research electives. And these are basically opportunities to develop unique electives with the chosen mentor. And they're very popular. Almost every student that I have sort of interacted with has either a clinical elective or a foundational elective. And some of them do research. We actually, our section is very, very popular with medical students, and they do a lot of retrospective studies with us, and there's plenty of time for those to be completed. Dual degree programs for all of you guys that are interested in that. We have an MD PhD program that is run in conjunction with the Graduate School of Biomedical Sciences, an MD MBA program with Rice University, MD MPH with the UT School of Public Health, and then we have an MD JD with the University of Houston Law Center. The MD PhD program typically lasts anywhere between 8 and 9 years. They really try really hard getting you out of the graduate school in 4 years. The MD MBA is 6 years. The MD MPH, that's a 5-year. They're working on making that a 4-year. And then the MD JD, that's a 7-year program. The only program that makes you take another test during the application process for admission is the JD MD program. So the MD PhD, the MD MBA, and the MPH will all take your MCAT in lieu of the GRE. But the MD JD program will not. They require that you take the LSAT. And we bargained and we argued with them, and they wouldn't budge, because I think, I don't know, maybe the LSAT is testing something different, probably, I don't know. But that's the only one that they'll have to take a different test. We do have some optional pathways at Baylor. Again, they're optional. It's an opportunity for you to specialize your curriculum. There's a medical research pathway, and you see them all listed there. None of them, except for the medical research pathway, will add extra time to your time at Baylor. The medical research pathway comes with a stipend. The student has to take a leave of absence for an entire year, so it becomes a 5-year program. But all the other ones are all integrated into the 4 years at Baylor. And the schedule is actually pretty flexible because, like for example, if you're doing the health policy pathway, you probably will have to take some preclinical electives during the MS1 and MS2, and then you're going to have, some clinical exposure during the 3rd and 4th year. Some students decide that they want to do a scholarly project, and that's fine, you can do that. So what do you get from this? When you graduate, you have formal acknowledgement on your diploma that you graduated with an MD degree, with honors, and successfully completed the medical research pathway or the health policy pathway. Talk a little bit about success indicators, and these are going to become a little bit less relevant in a year or two here, right? Because as you guys know, USMLE Step 1 is going to be transitioning to pass-fail here in the next year or so. So we do really well. I think the faculty has figured out what exactly students need to learn and master to be able to do really well in USMLE Step 1. The average around the country for USMLE Step 1 is 229, and the Baylor students an average score at 245. So, they've been doing this consistently since the USMLE Step 1 was first administered back in 1993. So we also, have a very strong and proven track record of our students being accepted to very competitive, residency program. I would say 97% of our students match other top 3 programs, for residency. So that's something that we're really, really, really proud of. This is sort of what the class that just graduated in 2020 looked like. There were 193 in the class. There were 13 MD PhDs, 2 MD MBAs, 6 MD MPHs, and 1 MD JD. As you can see, not everybody does a certificate pathway, but some of the most common ones are ethics and care of the underserved. Now, some students will do 2 pathways because there's a lot of overlap. For example, there may be some overlap in the electives between genetics and ethics, and you can see how there would be overlap, right? A lot of the genetic stuff, genetic testing, there's a lot of ethical issues with those, right? If you do a genetics test, should you let somebody know that they are carrying the gene for Huntington's disease or not? So you can see how there's overlap. Believe it or not, the space medicine track is very, very popular. And it's probably one of the few in the world where you get to study a lot of the effects of space and health and do some research and spend some time with the people at NASA. Obviously, you don't get to go to the moon, but it's very popular also, and we get a lot of questions about that particular pathway. This is for the results of our match. This past year, we had 184 students, participate in the match. 105, match into primary care residencies. 33 matched with Baylor, and 71 matched in Texas programs. So again, we do really well with primary care. This is over 50%, and we do a good job of keeping our students in Texas. The guys down the street up in the Capitol wants to keep you guys in Texas because they're giving us money to train you. So if they're going to invest in you, to go to medical school in Texas, they would like for you to stay and do residency and eventually practice, medicine in Texas. So we try very hard, to recruit. Obviously, you can't, mandate that somebody stay in Texas, but we try and our best to keep you guys in the state so that we can, contribute to the physician force in those areas where you guys are greatly needed. Just to give you an idea, you guys know that not every specialty is the same in terms of difficulty in matching, right? For example, dermatology is really hard to match in. And we had 10 students match last year. Orthopedic surgery is very hard. We had 9. Ophthalmology is really hard. We had 15. And ophthalmology is an early match, meaning that you find out in January rather than in March like everybody else. So the stakes are pretty high. And so this year we had 16 students apply for ophthalmology, and 15 out of 16 sort of matched in ophthalmology. Emergency medicine is also really hard to match, and we had 12 students match in emergency medicine. Again, we're going to prepare you really well for you to be very competitive in whatever residency you decide to pursue. So how do you apply to Baylor College of Medicine? Well, there's some changes coming. The most important change is that, for forever, we have been part of AMCAS. So if you guys wanted to apply to Baylor, you would have to fill out the TMDSAS application and apply to every other school in Texas for the very inexpensive price of $130, $150. You get to apply to maybe 10 schools or more. But then if you wanted to apply to Baylor, that was an additional cost because you had to apply via AMCAS, and that was like $160 just to apply to Baylor, plus $100 for the secondary. So it had the potential to become quite expensive. So after many discussions with leadership, we decided that it was time for us to join TMDSAS and make it more affordable for you guys, Texans, to apply to our institution. So that's one of the biggest things that you guys need to be aware. So we will be following all the rules that are associated with TMDSAS, including when the application portal opens, when things are, when interviews start, when we do pre-matches, and when we do the match. So we will be following all that stuff. So you will hear from us at the same time you hear from everybody else. So what does the committee look for in an applicant? So we take a very holistic review process, and I think that you guys have heard the term holistic review many times. And I can tell you that our admissions committee really takes it really serious. It's not just a buzzword around Baylor that we like to do holistic review, because we honestly look at all your credentials. We look at your grades and MCAT score. We look at your personal attributes. We look at your personal experiences that you bring into the table, and they're all weighed equally. So what the committee is looking for are for applicants that have really solid experiences that enrich their education, and that they gave you the opportunity to have some real life experiences or applications. I think it's great to have somebody who comes with a 4.0 and a 528, because there's no question that states that they're really smart, right? But if they really haven't had any experiences, working with diverse populations, or working, with, or face any type of adversity just from the experiences in life, then they really haven't had any real life experiences, right? And so, that person may not, be the best candidate, at least for us at Baylor. You may be a good candidate somewhere else, but not at Baylor. We want somebody that has basically, participated in other activities because they found some passion in what they were doing, right? And not just because they wanted to sort of, check the box. So we would rather see somebody with 3 activities over 4 years than somebody with 100 activities over 4 years that they all lasted, a few days to maybe a few weeks, right? So we want to make sure that's clear. We know that you guys can come. Some of you guys do scribing, which is great. We understand that COVID has changed the whole dynamics. Right now, all our hospitals in Houston are closed to volunteers. So nobody's doing any shadowing. So we know that you guys are going to have some shadowing, hours from 2019, maybe a lot, then a little bit from 2020, and probably nothing from 2021. But we know that, and everybody's going to be in the same boat. So that's not going to disadvantage anybody. There are other things that we can look at, that you guys have done. A lot of you guys have been real resourceful and have done actually virtual type of shadowing, and all that is great. We want you guys to be well-rounded. We are not looking for the cookie cutter, science, biology. We want you to go and do like you guys do at UT. You're a biology major, but you have a business certificate or something like that, or you're an art major or something like that. That's what we want. And really what we want are people who are really, looking to make connections and excel at Baylor and really, contribute to the class and want to be part of diverse groups. So this is what we do. As you can look at this, nothing is tipping this balance, right? It's perfectly aligned, right? Because everything that you see there, we weigh equally. And our committee has a lot of, discussions, and they're heated discussions about applicants. And we always go home and we always sleep well because we know that we spend enough time and we made the decision that was best for the applicant. So we want to know how you might contribute to teaching and learning at Baylor, and then we want to make sure that we balance this so that nobody's talking about, well, this person has a great MCAT score and a great GPA. Well, that's great, but what does everything else look like? I'm not going to really spend much time because this can be found on our website. What I am going to point out, because we cannot offer you a spot at Baylor, we probably cannot even offer you an interview. And this is the one that's, the ones that are overlooked the most. The 12 hours of humanities and the advanced biology. Please do not overlook those. And again, we do not take AP credit for requirement courses, and we do not take dual credit. Like, some of you guys, came to UT after being in high school and you came in with enough hours to be a sophomore. We won't take those for prerequisites. So let's say, for example, you did psychology as dual degree and we require that you do psychology, just take an advanced psychology class and that will meet the requirement. And so just so that you guys know. Again, this is what the timeline will look like for TMDSAS next year. Application portal will open in May. We are not going to participate in the early decision program at Baylor. We haven't had an applicant apply for early decision in probably over 10 years. And then again, we're going to follow everything, as it is here for the medical school. We will start, doing like everybody else, extending the pre-match, acceptances in October. And then we'll go on until, the end of December, and then we'll just kind of wait, for the match. And so again, this is really new for us, this match, because we currently have rolling admission. So we don't have right now, for this particular year, we don't have a set time for us to contact you to let you know that, you've been accepted to Baylor. If you're going to apply MD-PhD, you do not need to apply via TMDS. You need to apply via MCAS, because all of the MD-PhD programs in the country go through, AMCAS. Again, for both systems, whether you do AMCAS because you're doing MD-PhD or TMDSAS, stay on top of it early. Like to say, the early bird gets the seat. It's true. The earlier you get all your stuff, the quicker the committee can review your application, and the earlier they can give you an answer whether you want to interview or not. And so please be mindful that, faculty, maybe not this year, but faculty will take sabbaticals or go on vacation. So don't wait until May to ask for the letter of recommendation, because then in May they're going to be busy grading exams, and then in June they're going to go somewhere, and then in July they're going to be busy, and then in August they're going to be super busy because school is starting, and in the meantime your application has not been moved forward because you are missing letters of recommendation. So just sort of keep in mind that. So here's what the entering class of 2020 looked like. We had 186 students. That has been the size of our class. I don't know if you guys all right, so anyway, so that's where we were. And again, I talked about it earlier that, we're one of the least expensive medical school in the country. The nice thing about, getting funding from the state is that you guys will pay the same tuition at Baylor that you will pay at Dell or at Southwestern or at McGovern, because we do get sort of state funding. There's a lot of services available for the students. If we accept you to Baylor, we're committed to seeing you be successful. So there's a lot of student engagement. There's a lot of administrative support. We know that people are going to have hiccups as they go through medical school. And so we have a lot of academic support, from, everybody has to recalibrate because, medical school is very different than being an undergraduate. Some of you guys are taking, 18, 19 hours, but when you come to medical school, you're going to be taking the equivalent of 25, 27, semester hours. That's how much it is. So, there is some adjustment period, but we have those types of services to be able to, help you strategize. How can you be more effective at studying? One of the things about Baylor students is that they're very service oriented. And actually that when you interview at Baylor, next year we're going back to two virtual interviews. You will interview with one faculty member of the admissions committee and one medical student member of the admissions committee. And actually the students are like, they're the tougher interviewers because they want to see somebody that looks like them. So if they came here and had so many, volunteer activities and, they want you to have those kind of things. So this is just an example. This sort of, clinic was, developed when they were having all those issues at the border and they were taking kids away from parents and stuff like that. So faculty member, reached out to some students and they all came together and they found this sort of space where they could sort of have a clinic, for people, who are seeking asylum here in Houston. There's also this service learning program that, was established by actually Julie was a former UT Austin student. She was about medical engineering. What this service program does, they're medical services that respond to community identified concerns and that require students' preparation and reflection. So it involves the students to actually go into the community and basically interact to be able to identify where the gaps or the needs are so they can come back and then, try and figure out how they can, help the community. And in fact, this was so popular that this is one of our deans of student affairs. He was able to get, a grant for like $2,000, and students were getting anywhere from $300 to $500, grants to be able to support some of the work that they wanted to do, in the community. So again, students very, very service oriented. And now this has become pretty much, this sort of symposium has become a yearly event. So I'm going to close out here and, why should you choose Baylor? I told you we're the least expensive top, 20 medical school. We have extra time in the curriculum. It's very flexible. You're not going to find a larger medical center in the world. We guarantee that you'll get one-on-one patient contact within weeks of starting medical school. I told you about our track record of students doing well in USMLE Step 1 and 2 also, and also of our students, matching at some of the nation's top residencies. And I think the most important thing that, if you remember, is our culture. We have a culture that is incredibly inclusive. You're going to have some really, diverse classmates that are going to be supportive. This past year, the class that started in 2020 was made up of 25% students that are underrepresented in medicine, 52% women, and there were about 15% of the class that were first-generation students. So again, we are really proud of that, and the committee has done a lot of work, towards that, goal. And I'm going to stop right there, and we can, have some questions. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. You can just, you can reach me via email, LinkedIn, or whatever. It works for you guys.
With that, we're just going to wrap up the meeting. We want to be sensitive of everyone's time. So I hope everyone has a good rest of your evening, and we'll see you all very soon. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Good choice.
Oh my
This
goodness.
is better.